Before we start, I'd like to mention that some of the language in all of our episodes may be interpreted as offensive. If you are easily offended, I would advise you to go and listen to another podcast. However, if you don't mind the occasional swear word or bad story, you're in for a treat. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Are you counting down from 5?
I thought you
You
were
said
counting
I
in
was
your
not.
head.
No, I thought you was going to go 5. 4.
No, you
Fucking
start.
hell. All right, I can go now then, yeah?
Yeah, you go whenever.
Welcome to the season finale of the Average Person podcast. Not the voice you was hoping for, maybe, but here we go. Today's guest is none other than your beloved host, James Murray. For any new listeners, it isn't the funny one off the Impractical Jokers. It's just a lad from Beeston. To me, of course, he's more than that. He's my best friend of over 20 years and he's a godfather to my beautiful daughter. We grew up on the same street along with another one of our close friends, Mitchell, and we've probably spoke every day since we first met at school, even sometimes with one of us being on the other side of the world. James, how are you?
I thought that would be the first question you were going to ask me. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good nervous doing this because you've been quite strict with me and given me a time frame, but I'm a bit more laid back than you. But
Well, I'm a little bit
anyway.
worried that you're going to be a better host than I am and steal the show.
Well, I'm not. I'm here for one night only. So it's a
I've
special guest.
I've blown the budget on you, so you better live up to it.
Yeah, that's true. What's it like being on the other side?
It's a little bit weird because, it's kind of the unknown. Everyone who came on the podcast has always said, oh, what are you going to ask me? What are you going to ask me? I say, relax, don't worry. I'll ask you normal questions. You'll be fine. And then now I'm on this side. I'm like, oh, what's he going to ask me?
Yeah, but you've given me strict instructions. It must only be about work and employment, so it can't be anything too out there, can it?
That's true. Yeah, we've got to keep it a bit PC.
Yeah. The first memory, well, not the first, but a memory that I wanted you to tell as your first story was the first day in year 7 on the bus.
I forgot about that story. So for those that are new to school in year 7, it's the big step up and it's the big nerves and you feel like you're getting older. And I remember the bus, I think it was about 8:15, maybe 8:30 it was arrived, but on the first day everyone was that nervous. I think we all arrived at the bus stop for like 7:15 in the morning, even though it was like an hour before. Everyone's chatting and talking, and then I think we ended up moving bus stop because we were getting impatient. Anyway, we go to the bus stop. I get on the bus first, pay the guy whatever it was, and then I go up the stairs. I think, we'll sit upstairs. And as I go up the stairs, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm the boss here. I'm going to sit at the back of the bus. So I go up the steps, look to the back of the bus, and there's about 20 year 11 pupils all smoking on the back of the bus, looking at me, staring. And I was like, oh, maybe not. So then I go and sit at the very front of the bus and don't even turn around. I just sit there looking forwards. And then the next minute, I hear some steps, some foot coming up the steps. And I was like, right, that must be Jack. Can't wait to talk about what I can see behind me. And with all the seats on the bus, everywhere was empty apart from the back and at the very front. You came and sat right next to me. You and me sat side by side on the front of the bus. And then straight away, I think we're getting called all sorts. Look at these
I think
two.
Jack Taylor was trying to rip us to bits, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh.
Luckily, we knew him. Otherwise, it would have been really embarrassing, I think.
Yeah, luckily we knew. Yeah, we got to know some of the older ones, so they kind of looked out for us a little bit. But yeah, that was not the best start to our journey in secondary school.
No, I think I was most scared about smelling the cigarettes when we got to school. I thought, bloody hell, if they tell our parents straight away these two are smoking, we're in for it.
You think now though, when you sound so old when we go, oh, I remember back in the day when people were smoking on the bus.
I know, but even in our lifetime, how the school bus has changed. Like it was 50p to get on a bus, year 7, and by the end of it, it was a public bus that used to come pick us up on the way. Do you remember it?
Yeah, the inflation was crazy, like 50p, 60p, 70p. And I remember times where we were at school and you would prioritize food in the daytime over your bus fare. So, splashing all the cash at the cafeteria or wherever, buying all your brownies or flapjacks or whatever it was. And then gets to the end of the school and you're like, shit, I'm going to get home. So then we're all scrounging around, everyone we knew at
I
school.
was just about to say,
You got 20p.
at the bike racks, and I've got any spare change. That was homeless.
Yeah, but it's amazing how quickly you could rack it up. You end up racking up £3 and buying more stuff at the shop as well as your bus fare.
Back to the jobs. Let's start. So you gave me a list of jobs that you've done. Some of them made me laugh when you texted them over to me. Starting off with you gambling at school as a job. I was crying when you told me that. Do you want to explain about the gambling?
Yeah, it's not the best start to my working life, but it was a way of earning money when I was in year 11. So it was 2010 World Cup, and I think you can appreciate World Cups when you're a bit younger, but it was kind of the age where 15, 16, where you could actually embrace the World Cup, understand players and teams and countries. Like, it was the real deal. Being in year 11, not being able to work, I was trying to think of ways. What way could I make money?
I think it was in year 10.
Was it year 10? Yeah, it might have been year 10.
Because we left school 2011, didn't we? So
yeah, you're right.
It was year 10. God, even earlier.
Even Jesus. Earlier, yeah, make me sound even worse. But I would, with our group of friends, I basically said, I'm going to set up who wins the World Cup. So you buy to give me £2 and you pull out a name from the hat, and whatever name you get, that's your team. And if you win the World Cup, you get all the money that I make, or I collect, sorry. So I start taking in these bets, and I'm thinking, I could make more money here. Instead of just doing World Cup, I could do single games. So for about a 2 or 3 day stretch, I was taking on bets for single games, and I was winning every day. I was winning. It was unreal. I couldn't believe it. Probably back then, I'm rubbing my hands together thinking I'm a millionaire, but it was probably about £30. Anyway, word gets out to our head of year and the head teacher and that I'm taking on bets into school. So then they take me into the thing and say, can you empty your bag out and pockets, whatever? And I think I probably had like 15, 20 quid on me. So it could have been worse. And they were like, have you been gambling? Have you been betting and stuff? And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I was like, absolutely shitting myself. And then unfortunately at the time as well, they didn't call them in because of what happened, but there was a police officer on site at the school, and they asked him to sit in this meeting. So I got my head of year, the head teacher, and the police officer sat in front of me, and I'm absolutely shit to myself at this point. And they're saying to me, do you know how serious this is? Blah, blah, blah. It's so severe. I'm like, yeah, probably in tears at the time. I used to hate getting told off. I was probably sat there like, my mum's going to kill me, all that. And then I ended up getting away, leaving. They even let me keep the money because they couldn't prove that it was from the gambling. And then I stopped the day-to-day gambling, sold all the teams for the World Cup. So it was still on. I told everyone, look, it's still on. I know I've been told off, but it's still on. And then I remember Matt Ball won, didn't he? It was Spain.
Yeah, because I had Holland, and obviously it was me versus Matt Ball in the final. So I was fuming.
Yeah, it was 50 quid or whatnot. It was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, but just going back to you taking the single bets, I remember Mrs. Lally asking if I had any involvement, and I was like, no, miss. And she told me to empty my pockets. Empty my pockets. I had an A4 sheet of paper folded up, and it had everyone's teams, who they were for the weekend, and all the single bets that you'd put on. Yeah, so she took the proof off me, so that probably was what got you into the shit, to be fair.
Probably. It could have been worse, but I look back now and it was worth it.
To be fair, that's you've put me in the shit a load of times with score, so I was probably just getting one back on you. So after that, really, your main money making was selling Dre beats.
Yeah, so obviously I've gone from one criminal activity to another criminal activity. It's not a good start, and I managed to find a website called Alibaba, which is kind of a popular website now, and saw these Dre beats. And at the time, I'm thinking, how can Dre beats be so cheap? Because I thought, they're like £100 here, and on this website it was like 20 quid a pair. And I was thinking, it's probably because they're from China, like whatever, like they must be cheaper over there, they might mass produce and blah blah blah. So I think, right, I'm just gonna take a punt here. I'm gonna borrow money off my mum, and I'm gonna buy these Dre beats, and then I'm gonna sell them and give her her money back. So I think I spent about 100 quid on Dre beats, and I can't think about how many I got. There were less than 20 quid because I got quite a few pairs. I think I got 30 for 100 quid, so a lot less than you think.
I remember you having loads and loads, to be fair. And they was sort of the in thing at the time, weren't they? The Dre beats, so that's what everyone wanted.
Yeah, it yeah, it was a big craze. It was like on the come up Dre Beats. I got a big box came and they all came. I was like, oh my God. So I take them out, try them on, thinking these are actually amazing. They sound so good in my ears and that. So I think, what can I do to make the most money? So I sold them for 40 quid each. So I was selling them 40 quid to people when I got them for like, it would have been less than a tenner now when I think about it. But then my mates, I would give them for like 10, 20 quid, tell them I got them for that price. But my money, imagine selling them at 40 quid each and I got them for like 5, 10 quid. It racked up really, really fast. This is when I just left school. I think it was that summertime. I managed to buy myself things that my mum would never get me, because she wanted me to kind of grow up in a way where I appreciate everything that I have. And she wouldn't go and blast for £400-500 on a phone. And Blackberries were a big thing then. And I guess I kind of wanted one for so long. So the money I got, I bought a Blackberry. I was buying all these clothes. I was finally being able to go and eat at restaurants. And I was like, this is such an easy way of making money. Like, I'm loving this. But then I started to realize that the Dre Beats weren't real. They were breaking quite fast, and I had to get out of that market as quick as possible.
So when you say about your mum, to me, your mum's always done everything for you and gave you everything. Brilliant woman. Well, she'd do anything for you. You're a bit wheeling and dealing, that is, though, isn't it? I can imagine you and your brother in a three-wheeled yellow van.
Yeah, Rodney and Derek.
Yeah. James and Max, Murray Independent Traders. Let's get on to actually your first job that wasn't criminalised.
Oh yeah, finally
working at the Beekeeper.
Yeah, so still up there with my worst job in regards to my ability of the job and how much I enjoyed it. That was not a nice job for me. So working at the Beekeeper, obviously one of our closest friends from school, Jamie, his mum and dad owned the place and managed to get you a job, then me a job, and then a couple other people that we knew a job. So it was kind of like a little reunion almost at work. I was always hoping to be a waiter. I thought, my skills would be a lot more, I'd be a lot better as a waiter basically. And then I got roped into working in the kitchen, and you know how that went.
Yeah. Some funny stories of you losing the company a lot of money, let's put it that way.
The best one is when the fish story. Everyone knows the fish story if you know me closely, but people listening might not know the fish story. But basically, when I did a whole day at work, I'll probably earn 40 quid. That would be my wage for the day, 40 quid. So I'm worth £40 a day. And they get this big fish delivery, and they say, like, obviously my nickname being Muzzer, they all call me Muzzer in the kitchen. Like, Muzzer, go and get that fish out of the freezer, put it in the sink, and run water on it. So I was like, all right, that's pretty easy. So I go to the freezer, grab this massive box of fish, lump them into the sink, and run water over the fish. And then the water gets above the fish, and then I turn the tap off so the sink's full. And I think, right, sound, get back to work. So I get back to work, a couple of hours go by, and I'm thinking, I'm finishing at 4 o'clock. Gets to 4 o'clock, I'm finishing. And it was even better because you were working longer than me. So I was like rubbing my hands together.
Oh, that's because I was higher rank, wasn't I? So
Probably.
It was a Sunday, wasn't it? So I was head of Sunday dinners. So
yeah, well, yeah, you were more important.
I was slapping that up because I was next to the sink the whole time where these fish were defrosting, supposedly.
Yeah, I know. And then I end up going to get changed, and I'm leaving through the doors, and the timing couldn't have been worse. It was unbelievable. As I'm leaving the door, opening the door, all I hear is Moza screaming my name. I'm thinking that's not a good scream. And then I turn around.
Let me just put in there, because before he shouted that, because obviously I was next to the sink and I've known you've gone. Was it Rail, the chef?
Yeah.
I've heard him shout Rog over. He's gone, Rog, get here.
Yeah, that's it.
And fucking Muzzer. Look at all these fish. And then those two have been like, that's all I've heard. I've been cracking on with work. And then that's when the Muzzer shouted, and then I'll let you finish.
You're probably thinking, oh, I wonder what he's done this time, because it would have been, it would have been a mistake at this point. And I
was rubbing my hands together thinking, thank God it's something he's done again. Yeah. Just to make me look a bit better.
Well, I turn around and I see Roger and Rail stood over the sink with their hands on their hips, shaking their heads. And I see your face looking around the fridge corner, looking at me, laughing your head off. I was like, no, what the hell could this be? So I walk over, like, saying, what have I done? What? And they're like, this fish, did you run this water on the fish? I said, yeah, why? He's like, was it cold or hot? And I said, hot water, right? You got to get the ice off the fish. And they said, ice, hot water. You've poached the fish for fuck's sake. I put the fish in hot water for a couple of hours, and I've poached all the fish. And it's all like he picked one of the fish out of the water, and all the meat and that fell off the fish. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done here? You're pissing yourself to my left.
Oh God,
I'm having to try and
I was crying.
straight face because the manager and that Rail's looking at me. Rail wants to punch me. And then Rog, being Rog, luckily for our sake, especially me making all the mistakes, Rog is like, oh well, we could make a fish pie out of it.
Yeah,
I was like,
fish pie out of it, like a special for the day.
But the best thing about that story is that the fish that I wasted was worth like £100. So I would have had to work more than 2 shifts all day just to pay off that.
It was a
fish.
full box. Full box of fish.
There would have been more profit in the company if I just didn't turn up to work that day.
Yeah. And what did you do that day? Was you on pot wash?
Well, pot wash is that day I think I was on the fries, messing up on the fries. But as I started to do the job more, I realised that my skills, I was a lot better on the pot wash than I was actually cooking food. I just messed up every single shift on the food. So then I started.
So basically, you was a lot better at doing stuff that a trained monkey could do
than
actually cooking the food.
Yeah, I don't know why I was so bad. I just couldn't focus. I just couldn't be bothered. I had no passion for it all, and I was just messing up all the time. And then it's obviously not nice when they're screaming and shouting at you for motivation.
Well, I think one of the best things is every parents' evening. I always remember I used to go with my mum, and it would always say had to be moved away from James Murray. This was probably from year 3, year 4, all the way throughout junior school, all the way throughout secondary school. Must not sit near James Murray. Our first job we've got at the same place, and we're working next to each other. And Roger's like, yeah, it's all right. They can work together and all that. And it was just fuck up after fuck up.
I know, yeah. It must have cost them so much money. I couldn't believe they put us on together. And then I think they started to click on and put us on different shifts. But what was funny about working on the pot wash is that they actually had a full-time pot washer, didn't they? That Polish woman. What was her name?
Yeah. God, I can't remember her name. That's a great question. You know what I'm like? So usually I remember her name.
You are good with names. You probably remember it later on in the episode.
Is it Martina or something like that?
It rings a bell.
I'm sure it become a Ben.
Yeah. But I used to be quite good on the pot wash. I like to think anyway. And I got quite fast. And then there'll be jokes flying around the kitchen like, Muz is trying to take a job, blah, 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 because she was like the main pot washing woman. I think my strongest memory, apart from the fish story, is the Aguero goal. So remember when we were working on Saturday afternoon, and we were working at the same time.
It might have even been a Sunday, actually, final day of the season.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking if it was both together as well, it was probably a Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it probably was. And then, it would have been a Sunday. And then the games were on, Man U finishes, and we're like, because there's no TVs in the kitchen. We were just looking at our phones, and then I think did they have it on the TVs inside the restaurant?
I think was Johnny running. That's when before Johnny was in the kitchen, so I think he was running in and out, telling us the scores and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, so one of the waiters running in and out, telling us, keeping us updated with the scores, and then Man U, obviously, game finished, and we're like, Man City's still playing though. He just comes in, tells us what happened, and then watch it on the TV. Aguero, and then they win the league. And I just remember that day.
And obviously, you quite like Man City at that sort of point, maybe just before. And obviously, with my dad being from Salford, I didn't love United, but I've always had United at heart. So I was like, no. And then when Rooney's goal won it for United, I was like, get in, definitely not win the league. And then he scored 2 goals in injury time, and God, I was deflated.
I've gone from hating that job so much, and whilst I was doing that job, obviously, common friend of ours, Tom Teese, on my days off, this is when I'm like learning to drive and everything. When I was at the Beekeeper, I would go with him on his job, and he had started working as a Chinese delivery driver. So I'm going with him while he's at work, delivering the food and stuff. And then it got a bit boring sometimes. Like, it was something to do. When I say boring, I mean I wanted to do something. So I asked him, like, can I start delivering the food to the house? So he started giving me like £5-10, giving me some food for the shift and deliver the food to the houses. So I'm like almost training myself up without realising. I was like, I'd love this to be my job. As soon as I passed my driving test, I left Beekeeper and got a job at the Chinese delivery. So I've gone from the worst job that I've ever had to arguably still the best job I've ever had.
Nearly 10 years on, and you're still doing it. Obviously, with having time off, doing your other things, but you've always gone back to it. The same Chinese as well. One
But
thing I always remember about Evergreen is when there wasn't a delivery or whatever, because if I would come with you and just for something to do, like you said, we'd watch a film, or in the summer especially, I just always remember playing Wally, like just kicking a ball against the wall for God knows how long.
yeah, that's the best thing about the job is when it's quiet. Like a lot of jobs, you think, oh, so boring and slow when it's quiet, and there's some you like wishing it's busy. And the best thing about the delivery job is when it's busy, it goes fast like every other job, and you earn a lot more money. But when it's quiet, the good thing is you can just relax. So you can watch a film, you can do like go on your phone and message people you need to message, do whatever you want, basically, just out the back. And when it was nice in the summertime, I remember sometimes, how many of us was there? Sometimes 5, 6 people. And we were just
Yeah.
playing wall ball in the sun and just kicking the ball around. And that was a great time, actually, when I think back about it. I've got so many funny stories about delivery because obviously I've done it for so long and so many people have like come and gone on delivery. And there's just so many good ones. Like I just remember back then you could get a DVD player in your car as a radio, but it was like a TV screen. And some people had them in the cars, and I didn't have it in my car. And I really wanted one in my car, but I'd probably been tight at the time and didn't pay the 150.
Don't sound like you being tight, James.
Didn't want to spend the 150, £200 on getting the TV DVD player. So I tried to make a makeshift one. So I got my iPad and I jammed the iPad between the dashboard and the windscreen, and it fit really well. It would like hold throughout the whole night. So I would fit the iPad in there, connect the aux cable into the iPad, and then we'd all watch a film on my iPad while I was driving around. So highly illegal and dangerous, but back then it was a dream, just driving around watching whatever I wanted on my iPad. And I remember a funny story I had when I was with Tom was his brother would come on, and if I wasn't delivering, this was probably before I started delivering because I was a bit more reliable than his little brother was. His little brother ordered some chips from the Chinese, eating his chips in the passenger seat. And he's a bit daft, Josh. And Tom will be laughing if he's listening to this. And we've gone to the house, turned up, and Josh gets out the car and walks over to the house because he gets given the ticket where to go. So he goes to the house, knocks on the door, and charges them the money for the food. Say it was £15. So hand over the £15. So obviously they're expecting their food. And Josh is daydreaming at this point, still eating his chips in his hand, and hands the customer his own bag of chips, half eaten. And they're probably thinking, what the hell are he doing? And we're looking at thinking, where's the food? What's he doing? And then we just see him running, sprinting back to the car with his chips in his hand and gets the box out with the customer's actual food in there and delivers the food. That was so good.
How old would Josh have been at that point? Obviously, he's 3, 4 years younger than us.
Yeah, he must have been
Was
about,
he still at school?
13, 14 years old. Yeah, so it's kind of harsh to
So
made him
do you reckon
that.
Tom was trying to get him on that ladder of working there early, or
No.
just being lazy and letting his brother do it?
Yeah, the second you said, the latter.
Yeah.
He was definitely being lazy. And I think even with me starting to do the deliveries, he was probably buzzing about that, not having to get out of the car, stuff like that. And maybe if I wasn't doing the Chinese delivery and I look back that and I think, why did I do that? But I'm glad now because it was the training that I needed to actually be good at the job. But then that's funny because that's kind of a natural progression for all the drivers. So when I started driving all the time, people would come with me, and eventually I started getting Ben Hamford to do the deliveries. And that was funny because Ben is even more daft than Josh. So many
daft
mistakes
lad, Ben.
Ben made. So many mistakes, but the best one of all of them, and I never let him forget this, is we drove to a house and it was not in the best area. And these houses basically is 4 flats. So you have A and B downstairs, C and D upstairs, and one front door to enter. So I pull up and I say, it's 21C. So obviously you go upstairs, C and D upstairs every time, same layout every time. So I'm in the car and I'm on my phone, just waiting for him as always. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I've been on my phone about 10 or 15 minutes here. Where the hell is he? He's like 20 yards away from me, the house. It's not far. I'm thinking, where the hell is he? And I'm like looking out the window thinking, I can't see him. What is he doing? So I get out of the car and open the front door, and Ben's there, stood with the food, stood outside of this door. And I'm like, Ben, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, James, I can't find it. They're not answering the door. And I said, what do you mean they're not answering the door? It's C, you're downstairs. So I look at where he's looking, and there's a door that says C on it, and it's C for closet or cleaning cupboard or something. I'm sure it
No
means
way.
closet. And the door is slightly open. And I said, no. At this point, straight away, I realized how stupid he was. And I was like, no, this is going to be amazing. So I opened the door slightly, and inside was a mop and bucket and all clean supplies for the flat. And I couldn't stop laughing. And as soon as I opened the door and we both saw the mop and bucket, he turned around, walked straight up the stairs and delivered the food. Oh, that was actually hilarious. I couldn't believe it.
It was cold at that point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they probably think, I'm surprised he didn't even hear us laughing in that downstairs. But what I think about now is, what is he doing for 15 minutes? That's a long time. 15 minutes just stood at this door, knocking on
You'd
this
have thought he'd have come out to you
Yeah.
and said, these aren't answering the door, and then at least you could have gone in then, or rang the number on the receipt or something. But just a quick memory I wanted to tell you about you delivering Chinese is, do you remember when I kicked your windscreen in?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh,
I can't even remember. I think I went to the toilet at the Chinese and you've locked the door, and I left my BlackBerry on. Obviously, you would have known my passcode or whatever. You've changed the passcode, like the doors won't let me in. So I've sat on top of your car, like tapping the windscreen with my foot, fuming at the time.
Tapping. You mad?
Well, I was digging my heels in, put it that way. And then I remember I thought, do you know what? One last kick, I'll just give it one. I gave it a quick kick. And I looked down and the windscreen had like broke. And you just got straight out of the car and looked at me. He was like, no.
You know how you always say that I'm not good at remembering the stories, I remember them differently. I remember that story differently to you then. Maybe let me tell you my version of events, and it might be wrong, but I thought I saw your password as we're driving along that night a couple of times. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to prank him. So when you went to the toilet, I changed the passcode on your phone and actually locked you out the car. So when you're trying to get in the car, getting mad, you sit on the car, kicking the windscreen. I'm like, Jack, stop. What are you doing? All right, I'll let you in. So I let you in. You sit down and you go on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
And as you go on your phone,
I kicked it from the inside, didn't I?
What I've done, you've changed my bloody password, and kicked it again from the inside.
Yeah.
Cracked.
That's right. I did it. I remember doing it from the inside, and I remember you didn't want to go home because you didn't want your mum and dad to know that it was cracked. So you ended up staying at mine. We drove back to mine from the Chinese at about 10 miles an hour the whole way. Luckily, it was like 11. Over every speed bump, the car was nearly not making it. It was going that slow. I had to ring my dad in Manchester and ask him to transfer me 150 quid so Autoglass could repair your screen in the morning.
I know. I remember that story quite well now. I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
So after Evergreen, what was your next venture? Was that volunteering in Africa or?
Yeah, so I was volunteering, but I put this on as a job because it was actually my job. Like I basically worked 5 days a week, and then but I wasn't getting paid, and then I had the weekends off, and that was a mad experience. Like I didn't know what I got myself signed up for. So basically, I signed up for this government program where they send people from the ages of 18 and 25 overseas to work on like programs that are run by partner charities. And before I went, I was getting told that I was going to Cambodia. So I did all this training to go to Cambodia and had all these injections and met all these people that at the time I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to get along with all these people. They're very different to me in the work we're going to do. I don't know. I just don't know about it. And then I asked if I could change. So then they told me I was going to Nigeria. So then I get these injections for Nigeria. So I've had injections for Cambodia. I've had injections for Nigeria. And then I get told again that I'm changing. And I got told I was getting sent to this place called Lesotho or something. And then as I know that it's called Lesotho. And it's a country that's landlocked by South Africa that now is a place that's so close to my heart, and I get sent there. I still don't really know what I'm getting myself into. So we get there and everyone is put together, all the English people, and then we have all these African counterparts. And basically we're going to make up 3 teams. And it's actually a horrible way to do it, right? They do this training, and then the African counterparts, they already live in these areas. There's 3 areas. One of them is in the city, in the capital. One of them is in a place called Roma, which is a bit remote, but it's still a town, but it's not nothing like the capital. And then the third is unbelievably remote, like nothing around, hardly any shops. I think there was one shop in the village. At the end of the training, everyone got together in this one room and they said, right, we're going to pick teams. Like you're at school in a PE class, we're going to pick teams. And I'm like, no, pick teams? What do you mean pick teams? So we're all sat there and they go, right, Adam, who's the leader of the capital, he's like, you've got first pick. Who would you like? And I think there was 12 or 15 English people and the same with African people. I'm like, please pick me, please pick me. James Murray. I'm like, no, unbelievable. He's picked me first in the capital. Unbelievable. So I get put into the capital group with these two other English people, which I later find out that they're quite different to me, but I get put in my group. I'm just glad that I'm in the capital. And then after that, we've been living in like accommodation. It wasn't a hotel. It's like bunk beds and stuff. It was a bit rough, but it gets worse because
Bit like a hostel type thing.
yeah, hostel is probably the best description. And then after the 2 weeks of training, we get moved to our actual locations where we're going to do our work. They get put in 3 houses, one for me, one for a girl called Lucy, one for a guy called Stephen. And we were all the English counterparts from the capital area. So this taxi minibus drives us to the first place. And it's this gated house, quite nice, 2-story. And it looked decent, actually looked quite decent. And Lucy gets out of the car. And we had this guy called Adam, who was our team leader. And he's like to me, well, Lucy and Stephen, they quietly told me, because I got to know him quite well from the training, Lucy and Stephen have requested that they have to have a house with a shower. They have to have that. And I'm thinking, what do you mean they have to have a shower? Not everyone going to have a shower. So we drive to the second place, and it's like a lesser house, but it still looks, okay. It looked okay. Security and stuff looked all right. Had like an all right car outside, and the family come out, and it's like, hi, Stephen. Hi, Stephen. Stephen gets out of the car, and Adam's like, right, last place, James's house. So they drive along, and we got this road, and the road is awful. Stones, bumps, everything is awful. I can't believe they even drove up it. I thought they were going to stop at the end of the road and tell me to walk up. Awful. Get to the house, and it's like this small 3-roomed, roomed building, and it had like fences around it, but it looked rough. And then in the background was this little like cubicle looking building, and that was a toilet. And I got there and I'm like, hi, meeting the people, and they look really nice. I'm like, yeah, they're so nice, these people. All I want to see right now is my bedroom. I really want to see my bedroom. So take me into my bedroom, and they open the door, and they're like, oh, we just need to move a few things around. They were using this room as like a storage room. So they like moved all the chairs, they moved all the blankets, all these things that they have in the house. They moved all to the side, and then underneath it all was a bed. And this is your room, that's your bed there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, right, okay. What about the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? Like, is there anywhere, like, do you have a sink or something where I can like wash my face and stuff and get ready? Like, oh, no. We don't have a sink. We don't have a shower. I'm like, how am I going to get washed then? And they're like, well, the toilet's all the way down there at the bottom of the garden. And if you want to have a wash, and then they lift up this basin, like a big washing basket basin, and they say, you're going to have to fill this up with water and wash in that. I'm like, oh my God.
So you've got to fill it up yourself then?
The process of getting washed was mad. And I had to do this daily, sometimes twice a day, because it was so dirty. I'd have to go outside to the outdoor tap, fill up a saucepan, like a fat, massive saucepan, go into the kitchen, turn on the gas and that, heat up the water, which takes about 40 minutes to do that amount of water, carry it really heavy, carry it from outside of the kitchen / bedroom 1, along the outside of the house into bedroom 2, which is my room, pour it into the basin, and then I'd get into the basin. So the whole process of getting washed would take an hour and a half, and I had to do that every single day.
It's kind of like going back in time in England, like 100 years or so.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. And I was like, I don't know how people live like this every day. Like, can you imagine, like, you wake up at, when you went to school or you're at work and you have to leave in 10 minutes and you think, oh, I'll just quickly jump in the shower and get ready. Like
Yeah.
if I had to meet somewhere at 8 o'clock and I needed a shower, because at that point I was like styling my hair every day, like I needed a shower in my opinion at the time. If we're meeting at 8 o'clock, I'd have to wake up at like 6:30, have a wash and everything. It takes like 6:30 till 7:30 takes to get washed, and then I'd leave at 7:30 to get there for 8. The thing is though, despite like the way I had to get washed, the bathroom facilities, my bedroom, all of these things, the people that looked after me, it was like a brother and sister, and I called them my host mum, my host dad, and I've stayed in touch with my host mum for all these years, and every time I go back, I see her. The host dad's kind of busy. He's always doing something. They've got newborn children and stuff, but my host woman is such a lovely woman, and I try and help her out whenever I can, you know, with things. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I always try and make time for her. And when I look back now, I couldn't have got matched with any better people. They're like family to me now, and she's such an amazing woman. So my kind of assumptions going into it was I was hoping for a shower and a big house and everything, but I ended up having a lesser house, but getting used to the way that people live, because I can't always appreciate having a hot shower all the time. And I couldn't end up getting matched with better people. Well, it was like a good thing for time management and appreciating hot showers. But I mentioned in my last episode with Joe that one time I was getting washed in this basin, and I've gone to grab my deodorant or shower gel or something. It'll be shower gel from the side whilst I'm in this washing basin, and there's a spider there, a fat spider. I'm like, oh, wow. It wasn't like a normal spider at all that you'd see around here. It had like this red back on it. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? Like, I absolutely hate spiders. And this, I don't know anything about the spider. And I was like, everything's getting too much. I was in a rush. Oh, it was horrible. So
Everything was getting too much.
yeah. Instantly, I thought, I can't even continue having this wash. Like, that's the last of my worries right now. So I get out, dry myself quickly, put my clothes on, and I get this. I'd been to a football match, and it's like this piece of paper, like what do you call them, a program. Wrap it up into whatever it was, just to make it like harder. And then I whack in this spider to kill it. And then the spider's like tangled and wrapped up like mad position. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's dead. Like, take that. But then I'm in a rush. I didn't want to dispose of the spider because it felt like it was kind of a long process of, you know, like, how do I get it onto, what do I do? Put it onto a piece of paper? How the hell do I get it out of my room? So I rush off to work, take a picture of it before, rush off to work, Google it, Wikipedia page, and the spider was a cousin to the black widow spider. So it carries the same venom, but can't release it as much. So it would have hospitalized me. And at this point, I'm telling my host mum and my host dad, which I called them, and they're like, oh, don't worry. Like, we see those spiders all the time. It cause you no harm or whatever. And like, cause me no harm. I've just looked on Wikipedia page and it says it could put me in hospital. So then I get home to dispose of the spider, and the spider is gone. So the rest of my time I was there, I didn't dare put my feet on the floor. I was just shitting myself the entire time.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of talking I've just done to describe kind of the first initial bit about the Africa trip, but it was so eventful, the Africa trip, that there's just so much to talk about. That's just a little bit about the spider and what it was like. Working there every day, well, I was kind of running these football sessions, and we had to try and like teach them about life skills. So like a life skill could be like confidence and having inspiration or aspirations and things like that. So we'd play games and just manipulate it so we could talk about those words. But when we were doing those things, me and Adam felt a bit more like we can do more at this point. What can we do? So we set up a program with the United Nations, and we went to these 3 really, really, really remote schools, and they drove us there in this convoy. It was quite cool. And we would dig up the ground ourselves, so more manual labor, which I didn't think I would end up doing, but I quite enjoyed it after a while. So we'd dig up the ground, prepare it for like seeds, put the seeds down, and then the school would be responsible, the kids, to like water it, maintain the gardens and stuff. And then when all the vegetables grow, they can actually use those foods to consume for lunch and stuff. So not only is it saving them money, but it's like a little project, but it's actually a really good thing. So then when we finished and left, we didn't really hear much about it, but the charity that we worked with eventually got in touch with me and Adam and said, like, do you realize what you did? And I was like, yeah, it was good. She's like, no, you don't realize that the program that you set up got funded $50,000 from UNICEF to continue with
Wow.
the next bunch of people that go. So that was quite a amazing accomplishment for me. That was probably in my life, in my working life, something that gave
Yeah.
a taste
A
of.
nice feel good feeling.
Yeah, there was
But
definitely from that. But
yeah.
then there's obviously bad things that happened in Africa as well that I didn't even tell my mum about. So one time we got told, the only rule really we got told, basically we're living in Africa, we had a lot of freedom, but the only thing we got told was you can't go out at night. Like it's dark, it's dangerous. We can't promise that nothing will happen to you. So don't go out at night. So as it goes on, don't go out at night, don't go out at night. Then I went out one night and then I go out every night. And then one night, I basically promised the host mum and the host dad that I'd get them a Barcelos, which is a Nando's. And the guy said he'll come with me because it can be a bit dangerous. I'm like, all right, come with me. So we get a taxi from our house into town, and the taxi rank in town, the taxi drivers, when they're off shift, they just kind of drink beer and are kind of antisocial around the taxi rank. So I can see why it's a bit of a hostile environment at that time. So we get there, they're all doing that in the corner. Me and his name's Widdy walk off outside of the car, the taxi rank. And as I'm walking along, because Widdy's quite a popular guy as well, he knew loads of people. We're just chatting, walking along. Boom! Someone grabs me in a headlock. But the headlock wasn't that like tight at first, but they had me in a headlock. And I'm like, split second, I'm thinking, one of Widdy's mates like joking around, got me in a headlock. And then this other guy comes up to me, like a second guy, and he's like patting down my pockets. And I'm thinking, all right, this is getting a bit weird now, like patting down my pockets, in a headlock. And then all I hear, because I can't see because my head's down, is Widdy going, James, run, run. And then a third guy tries to attack Widdy, and Widdy punches him. And then he's like, James, you've got to run, you've got to run. And at this point, I'm thinking, I'm actually getting attacked. That is the first time in my life
Yeah.
I'm actually getting attacked. Like it was all happening so fast, and the adrenaline was rushing, everything. And I had a Samsung Note at that point, which is like quite a hefty, big phone, and it was in my right hand, and that's like my strong hand, my punching hand, if you want to say it like that. So I punched the guy that's got me in a headlock with my right hand over my head, and like he lets go of me as I've punched him. But as I've punched him, because that phone's in my hand, it's fell on the floor and skiddled on the floor. And at this point, I'm thinking, I've got to get that phone. Like that's my main focus. That's why they're attacking me. So I grab the phone, and as I'm grabbing it, because I've bent down to get it, the guy that was patting down my pockets has booted me and kicked me down onto the floor. And it was weird because the position I was in, I didn't go like roly poly over head first. My body's kind of like gone backwards. So I've put
Yeah.
my hands out and I've grazed all the inside of my hands whilst I'm putting them down on the floor to try and brace my impact. All my knees are cut, and I grab the phone, and as I turn around to see where they've gone, they've all run off. I can see him in the distance running off, and I get up, sprint, run like probably 100, 200 yards to catch up with because he's like left me at this point. And yeah.
Cheers, host dad.
I know. Well, he did punch one of them and he did shout run, but yeah, I know. In the situation, I think he helped more than he didn't help. But
Yeah.
the scariest thing about that, which was quite scary, is when I was getting attacked and everything, they weren't saying anything. They weren't speaking in African. They weren't speaking in English. They were silent. Like everything was silent. You imagine just rustling and like it was quite a scary situation.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that leads me to the next question. Why do you keep going back?
Well,
Something like that happens, I think I'd be staying away. But obviously, you've done more good than what's that. Obviously, was just a slight blip in the amazing experience. So
yeah, I mean, it's not fair to paint everyone with the same brush because a couple thugs trying to attack me, like it's not fair on all those people at those 3 remote schools I was talking about, all the children that were teaching life skills and their parents, and I met some amazing people there, and they need my help, and I'm not going to hold it against them. And those people that attack me, my outlook is kind of like, if I was in their shoes and I had no money and they can't even put food on their plates and stuff or put a roof over their head, they're so desperate. Like people listening won't understand the kind of desperation. I don't understand the desperation, but I can only try and put myself in their shoes. Absolute desperation. And they see me, a white person, walking around with an expensive phone. If they get their hands on that, they've got I don't know what, you don't know what they could do with the money that they get. So I don't
Yeah.
hold it against them. I have to try and understand from their perspective. But being there, everyone knew me in my area, and as when I was in town, like I was getting a lot of attention from the men, the girls, everything. I was like a celebrity. It really is
Yeah.
like being a celebrity there. And I had this like little burner phone, not like my Samsung phone. I didn't really take that out with me too much, but I had this like little burner phone, and I had like police officers, taxi drivers, people that work at pubs, just so many contacts in my phone of people that I can call if I'm ever in trouble or whatever, even though I didn't call him afterwards. So you get to know so many people, and getting a taxi there was probably the maddest experience because they have two types of taxis. They've got like a private taxi, which is like a car, and then they've got a public taxi, which acts almost like a bus. And on the front of the taxi, it will say where it's going. Where I live was a place called De Tabaneng. That's how they say it, De Tabaneng. And I would have to get that taxi. And then when I go to town, they would just shout, I'm going to town. But these taxis drive along and they're beeping the horns like, get in, get in, get in. And I'm like, no, I don't want a taxi, or yeah, I need a taxi. So you'd get in and it'd be packed. You don't say where you go in, none of that. You just get in and they just blast off driving. And then after about 5-10 minutes, whenever, the guy at the front whistles and looks at you. And that basically means it's time to pay your money. So you give them the money
Yeah.
for the taxi, but you shout when you want to get off.
Is there many people on the road there,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
is
the
it just
road.
taxi drivers? Or
90% of the road is taxi drivers. All of them, pretty much all the cars on the road are taxi drivers, and they don't really listen to the rules of the, like road laws or anything. They kind of just drive wherever they want. It's kind of like flowing traffic, but a lot of people
so
just.
do they need a license then, like over here, or do they just have a car, stick a taxi sign on, and that's how they have to try and make money to feed their family?
Well, I think a lot of people are illegal drivers and drunk drivers, but in South Africa it's a lot more serious. But in Lesotho it's a lot more kind of relaxed. I think you wouldn't get pulled over by the police. The police are so relaxed. But when I was going to the Tabaneng, which is like the final stop, I wouldn't get off then. I would get off before, and it was quite an intimidating experience. And I feel sorry for any kind of girl, woman that has to do the same thing. Even a guy, it's an intimidating experience. I obviously can't speak African, and we were driving to the Tabaneng, towards Tabaneng, and I would have to stop earlier on. And to get off, you have to shout really loud, bearing in mind the blasting music. You have to shout to the front, your stop. And my stop was called Haklai. I pronounce it horribly. They pronounce it a lot better than me. So like we're driving
I
along
hope
quite
so.
fast, and I'll go Haklai, Haklai. And it's like they all like stop, and then they stop the car, and then I get out. But shouting Haklai in a full taxi of African people, that alone is quite a daunting experience.
Sounds pretty crazy, to be honest. It does, and obviously I think everything you've done out there is amazing. So people are going to be nice to you, like because they know you're there to do good at the end of the day, aren't you? Like you said, with the people trying to rob you, it is desperation, because they might not have see their children, those men, or you might not be helping them like personally, but when with you going out there to the schools or whatever, it will be helping the children learn, and hopefully then they can move on to bigger and better things. Hopefully, like you don't know what, like as an outsider, for me looking in, it's hard. I think it's hard to understand. You say they're going through.
Yeah, unless you've kind of been there and seen it, because the adverts on TV of them raising money and stuff, that's not a very fair representation of Africa. Not everyone's like that, and I think it's kind of propaganda and not fair. Some places are like that, but there's some amazing people there that are ambitious, and they just need a little helping hand along the way. And that's what basically I'm trying to do with my charity and going over there. And working with kids is really good, because if everyone can, not just me, there's loads of other charities that do amazing work. If we can keep on affecting the youth, eventually the youth becomes the adults, and we're making a smarter and more appreciative and more successful generation.
I think you've put it perfectly there. Perfectly. So if we move away from Africa and we come back to the UK, what about your power league parties and stuff like that, where you're just going to work, so it still involves with children again?
Yeah, so when you come back, the opportunities working and getting paid to actually be in football is very difficult. And my kind of step towards my first paid role as a coach was working at Power League. So they would run birthday parties, and the children would basically play football, go inside and have some pizza, go back outside and play a big match. And that was my kind of job, to be the coach and facilitator of that. So I would go from being outside, meeting the parents, meeting the birthday boy, getting the boys together or the girls, get them outside, play some fun games with them, go inside, serve them drinks, serve them the pizza, ask the parents if they need any help, and then go back outside and play a match. And that would be kind of one party, which would last 2 hours. That was my first insight to what it was like being paid to actually be a football coach. Worst thing about that, though, is I had to sacrifice playing on a Saturday and Sunday. So for people who are listening, they might not know, but I tore my ACL at 16. And then we're talking about an age where I'm 17, 18, 19 years old. So it's just after I tore my ACL. So a large chunk of my football career as an adult, I've not been playing football. So that was quite hard, not being able to do the thing that I love, which is playing football to earn money.
Yeah. So like you said, it's hard for you, but you're getting an experience in coaching the children, getting paid for it. You get free dominoes as well at the end of the day. How many of those parties would happen over the course of a weekend?
Yeah, so that could be quite tough, because they'd ring you and say, can you do 2 parties? Can you do 1 party? Can you do 3 parties? And I remember times where I've agreed to do 2, and they're like, I go to the reception to get paid, and they're like, you couldn't do another 2, could you? And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, go on then. I'll do another 2. So the most you could really do is 4 parties, because obviously you're there for 8 hours if you do 4 parties. So it's quite an intense thing, because they're not like, you haven't got an hour gap in between them. It's back to back to back to back. So that is, it teaches you good, because you dropped in at the deep end essentially. So you learn a lot. You learn really quickly. And you know, when kids are playing a match at a party, you're not coaching them on third man runs and technical ability.
Yeah.
Just basically the referee of the game. So they are long days, especially in the summertime when it's nice and hot. It's actually quite enjoyable just being a referee and being able to relax. But one time that I definitely couldn't relax is one of my favorite games to play on parties is Bulldog. All kids love Bulldog. You say Bulldog, they go crazy for it. So Bulldog, basically you run from one side of the pitch, this big penalty box, to the other penalty box. And in the middle, you'd have someone trying to catch them. And a lot of the times I would be that person just joking around. I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. And when I tag 1 or 2 people, I then take a step back and let them get each other. And I remember one time, oh my God, and we're even thinking about it now, it's horrible. We're playing Bulldog, and I've never had a problem with Bulldog. I've always said, everyone goes, it's dangerous. I'm like, I like to think that I create an environment where it's not dangerous. And the chances of this happening are so slim, but it happened. These 3 kids have ran together and all met at the same time into each other, smashed faces against each other. It was horrendous.
Jesus.
I saw it and I thought, that's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Oh my God. They went down straight away, crying. As I walk over, there's a pool of blood, and then another pool of blood. There was 2 pools of blood on the floor, a tooth on the floor, and then this other kid holding his head like he'd got concussion. And I was like, no, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, this is awful. The parent on the sides wasn't there. They were upstairs relaxing. You know, they don't all come and watch.
Time away from the kids, they was thinking, weren't they?
Yeah, they're probably relaxed, time away from the kids. Nothing will happen. Trusted in the coach. And then there was another 12 kids running around, like, playing. So it's very difficult when you're the only person there. Like, my sole focus is obviously on the kids that are down hurt, but also the other 12 kids, I've got to give them something to do. So tell 2 of the kids, right, you 2 go inside and go and get some parents. I say, you 2 go inside and go and get some tissue. So they come out, and 2 of the boys had to go to hospital because it was that bad. And one of them just had a sore head. And I was like, that is absolutely, I feel so bad. A birthday party ruined, absolutely ruined. And the parents were like, at first they were pissed off and they were in shock. But when the shock wore off, they realized that, you know, anything can happen, injuries happen all the time. And I kept apologizing. But I think to myself, you can only apologize so many times. Like, it was a freak accident. You maybe as a coach,
now you know why they banned it at school from us, don't you?
Yeah, now I know why people talk about it being so dangerous. But I guess as a coach, it's got to happen to you to actually understand the severity of, if something does go wrong, how wrong it can go.
Yeah, then if something does happen again, whether with your football coaching, if people bump heads or whatever, you know, sort of have more of an idea what to do in the situation itself now.
Yeah, well, the protocol depends on different countries because, like in America, it'd be like we do concussion courses, and I mean, you could say they're very over the top. If any kids bash heads, soft, hard, medium, whatever it is, they both have to leave, call the parents and leave. They've both got to go to doctors and get checked out, which in America you got to pay for, and then the doctor needs to write them a letter to admit them back into playing soccer again. So that's how serious it is there. In England, you know, it's hit and miss. Depends who's watching. It's very scatty. And then in Africa, it would be get up, get on with it. So depends on what country you're in.
So going on America, do you want to delve into America now? Because you've been there quite a few times.
Yeah.
How did you first get the role going over there?
Well, I'd just been at Power League and I'd done a couple little jobs that I'm not really related to football. And then I thought, do I go to Dubai or do I go to America? And I had opportunity to go to Dubai, and my uncle was there at the time working, and I was kind of speaking to him a little bit about what it's like in Dubai, and he was telling me, you know, how great the money is and all that stuff. But I knew there'd be bad things with it as well, like the language barrier was a big thing. But I thought I'd still go. But then I also applied for a job in America. But the one in America I wasn't that optimistic about because you needed a university degree and stuff. And I was like, I know I'm good enough, but they, on paper, they think that I'm not good enough. So I applied anyway.
Yeah.
And then I got an interview. So I went to the interview. You have to do a coaching session and have a conversation with the woman there. And I was quite relaxed. So the session went really well. And then you speak to the woman who works at the company. She's just like asking you about how you got into football, blah, blah, blah. And I was probably just talking how I am now, talking about how just funny stuff like I've always played FIFA, love Football Manager. And she was like, you're the first person today that's made me laugh out of all the people. And when I heard that, I thought, you know, that's gone quite well, that has. And then 3 or 4 days later after the interview, I got offered a job. And I was coaching in New York to start with. And then now I've gone towards New Jersey. Now I prefer it in New Jersey. But, you know, people in England hear New York and they think, wow, New York. And then you say New Jersey.
Yeah,
like,
the
oh,
lights.
right, New Jersey.
Yeah. Going back to your interview, how many people was at the interview stage, and could you watch each other's coaching session, or was it all at the same time, same group of kids? Like, how did it sort of happen? Like,
Yeah, it's quite a weird layout. So they had one interview in London, one interview in Leicester, and I was like, Leicester, that's so close, that's so good. So I go to the Leicester one, and there was about 20 to 25 coaches. And unless you've been in a room full of coaches, you don't know what ego's like. It's unreal. Like what you're wearing, what football boots you've got on, whereabouts you're from, what you look like, how you speak. There's so many things that people are judging you on. It's not a nice environment. And I experienced
were
that.
these coaches from all over the UK as well?
Yeah,
Like,
they're all from the UK. And
boy, girl.
couple of them flew over from other countries. So it was quite a serious thing, and everyone was kind of on edge. So it was like a clubhouse, and then outside was 3 football pitches. So when it was your turn, you'd get called up. The session was like 45 minutes long, 15-minute gap. When it wasn't your turn, you'd just be in the clubhouse, either having that one-to-one conversation with the woman or watching the other coaches, and then it would be your turn to be outside. So it was quite a weird experience.
I think I'd find that the most nerve-wracking, you know, knowing you're fighting for a job with somebody else and they're watching you, like eyes on you, and you don't know what influence they have on the other coaches in there, like saying, oh God, why is he doing that?
Yeah.
Or why is he doing this?
Look his game. Look at his game. Or those kids aren't laughing. He can't be doing a good job. Or that.
Yeah.
That. And then in the coaching world, it's like, oh, that area is way too big. Oh, that game, I've done that game before. That's such a basic game. Blah blah blah. So you got those stereotypes of things like that. So it was definitely a nerve-wracking thing when I think back about it. But I knew in my own ability that I was good enough, and I knew that I had to be exceptional on the day because I was up against people that had got UEFA B, UEFA A licenses and university degrees. So I had to be the best I can be because at that point I only had level 2, but I had all this experience that I knew none of them had. So it was nice to know when I got offered the spot that university degree didn't hold me back.
And do you remember your first coaching role?
You mean in America or in England?
Just your first coaching role.
I think it was your little sister's team.
Because I reckon I could take you back further than that. What about when we was in year 11 and was coaching the year 9s?
Oh yeah, forgot about that story. Yeah, so Yeah, so you and me decided to take on the year 9 school football team, right? And you're my
Yeah.
assistant, even though you've said
See,
you're
this is where you're getting mixed up. Was joint managers.
not.
I
But
was the man-to-man manager, like give them like up their confidence, and
yeah,
you
arm
was like
rounder.
the football brain. I'm more bothered about playing than coaching, so I was just trying to up their confidence to make them the best player they can be.
Mm. Yeah,
You was the tactician.
that was a good experience. I remember calling up like some year 8s in the year 9 team, focusing on like trying to get the right balance of positions and when do we make subs and playing against other schools. And that was an amazing time actually when I think back.
Yeah, and obviously the year 9 team was your brother's year. It's fair to say there wasn't the most gifted set of players in that year group that the school's probably ever produced. So, like you said, we had to call players up from the year below just to fill the positions to give yourself a good chance of winning a
Mm.
game.
I'm sure we had
But
decent record though when we played games. Say we played, I don't know, we wasn't that many, right? 6, 7 games. I'm sure we won 3 or 4.
yeah, we had a good record. I remember, didn't a lad from the year below, he got a hat trick, didn't he? One game.
Yeah, I
Tom
think
Mellors
that's
was
when we
it?
played against Tyler Walker at West Bridgeford.
Yeah,
So what was funny
yeah.
about that you might not remember is before I joined Dunkirk, so when I was a lot younger, when I was 4 years old, up to about 13, 14 years old, I played for Attenborough Colts, and my manager was called Clive Smith. And when we took over that year 9 team, we played against a West Bridgeford school. My old
Oh, and
manager,
he was the
Clive,
manager,
was
wasn't
the
he?
manager of the other team. So
Yeah.
so
Was he
weird.
that kid? Was he? He was a school teacher, wasn't he? There, yeah.
Yeah.
So he managed the team.
So 16-year-old me up against my old football coach.
That's funny. Well, I was going to say another one I remember is I remember I think when you first came back from America, you had a chance to go to Italy to work for PSG. India, not Italy.
Oh yeah, I was going to say what you're on
Do you
about.
remember that?
Yeah, I do
Yeah, not
actually. Yeah.
Italy. And then you was telling me about you had a chance to go over to India.
God, you
What?
got.
How come that never came about?
I remember there was visa requirements for that. So they had a PSG academy in India, and as soon as I heard PSG in India, I was like, bloody hell, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. And I hadn't really gone to that side of the world before, so I was interested. So, they said to me, you everything's great. We want to employ you, but for our visa requirements, you've got to be, I think it was like 21 or 22 or something at the time. And at this point, I think I was only about 19 or 20. So I was like 2 years off from going there. So that was kind of a gutting thing because at that age, I mean, at any age really, when you hear the opportunity of something amazing, it's all you can think about. I'm going to
Yeah,
India, working for PSG. It's going to be unbelievable. And then when it comes crashing down that you can't do it, it's kind of soul destroying. It hurts you a bit. But I mean, the working, coaching in the year 11, the year 9, so obviously that's just like fun and my first insight to what it's like. And Power League was fun because it was birthday parties. But being in America, that's like my first serious full-time coaching job. Everything's very serious and you take a lot of pride in your sessions, a lot of pride in your players. You really want to see development and progression. And the hours of work that I had at first was like mind-blowing. I remember when my first club that I was at, I would only work coaching 6 till 9. I couldn't believe it. 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. and I'm finished, done. So,
is that what Monday to Friday? Is that or?
well, that was Monday to Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday are different. So I work every day. Sunday is when my teams, Monday to Friday, play their matches on a Sunday. And then on a Saturday, it's difficult to explain, but they basically have something called rec, which is recreational soccer, which is basically like soccer schools, but soccer schools in England where 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds play before they play for a team. The rec in America is very different. They have it all the way up to the ages of 20 years old. It's unbelievable. And for some players, it's for them to learn. For some players, it's because they can't travel. And for some players, it's just a bit of fun. But coaching rec players is difficult because a lot of them don't have any skill at all. And then mix that with some of them that don't want to be there. The parents are on the sideline forcing them to be there. It's quite difficult. And on a Saturday, you had to coach that for 5, 6 hours. That was tough.
In America, what would you say the perks are, and what's the negative of being so far away?
I think a massive perk is being able to do private training sessions with players because in England, if you were to do a private training session, 10, 20 pounds is what you'd get. And the daylight goes so fast and you have to buy your own equipment. So to earn £20, sometimes you think, is it worth it? When I do them here, I'm not doing it for the money at all. I'm never doing it for the money, even over there, but it's financially a lot better there. So if I was to do a one-to-one session, I could earn from $60 to $90, sometimes even $120 for 1 hour. So that money allows you to be able to buy good food, to reinvest your money in coaching courses if you save up the right way, or buy yourself new footballs, those things. So I think the financial gain that you can have in America is really good. The negatives, I would say, there's a lot of restrictions on you. Like the visa situation is very difficult. And I won't get into it too much, but when you have a visa, you know, the person that provides you the visa has a lot of control over you, and they decide what you do basically because you are an employee to them. So not being able to have the freedom of doing things like you can't always do a private session because you haven't got time, and sometimes you're not even allowed to do it. You get told that you have to go to this club or this rec session, and you have no choice in the matter. You could be working 3 hours or 7 hours, depending on where you get scheduled in. So it's kind of like disheartening sometimes when you're living in the same house as someone and they get told they're going to work for 3 hours somewhere and you have to go and work for 7.5 hours, but you get paid the same amount of money. So I'd say that's one of the worst things about it.
Yeah, like on personal experience, you know that I went out to America, and obviously mine was a student visa, so I know what the restrictions are like, because I couldn't even work, and it was horrible, really, because you're just trying to find. I had to ring my mum. Oh, mum, like everyone's going out for dinner. Can you transfer me some money so I can eat? Type thing.
They buy into things a lot better as well. Like they take things so much more serious, and they're a lot more thoughtful, and they really care about their children's development. Like I think that, I mean, from my personal perspective, the areas that I work in, I'm coaching children where their parents are lawyers, high up in the education world, work in New York City. Like some of them could have massive egos easily. They're getting paid 6-figure salaries, sometimes 7-figure salaries. And when they bring their children to the field for me to train them, they are expecting big things, and they're expecting real development, not just to turn up to soccer and get a bit better. They're expecting big results. And I've provided big results for so many parents and all the children I work with. And that's not arrogance, that's just reality. And I'm confident in myself. And I think that parents there are a lot more understanding of a professional, allowing a professional to have an impact on the children. So, you know, the parents are saying, did you listen to Coach James? Have you asked Coach James about that? What's Coach James asked you to do this game? What's the team do? What did Coach James say that the team didn't do very well after the game? Whereas in England, parents think they know best all the time. There's some parents over there, don't get me wrong, that do think they know best, but here, parents always think they know best. And you know what I've noticed, the biggest thing, I wanted to make sure I speak about this in the podcast, is when I've been learning soccer training, football training, I got taught that there's a four corner model of a player. So basically it's like a diagram, and each player in the world is made up of 4 corners. So you've got physical, technical, tactical, and then the mental side, the psychological side of the game. So they're the 4 parts that make up a player. And all academies around the world select players for different reasons. But there's two things that an untrained eye, and like not a coach, just a football fan, would look for in a player during a game. And this is what frustrates me when I watch games and people don't see the same things, right? So the first one is their technical ability. So technical would be, how do they pass a ball? How do they shoot? How do they dribble? How do they turn with the ball? You know, technical ability. And a lot of places, you know, Ajax, things like that. Ajax is a good example. Barcelona, technical ability is really, really important. And in America, it's all about technical ability. They don't really focus on the other 3. It's technical, all technical training. So they're turning these players into almost machines where they're not really good at much, only if you're playing the ball into them and they can control it or they can pass. But those things can be taught in different ways, and you can learn how to do them. If you just do technical training all the time, you're only good at receiving a ball off the coach to turn to shoot. What about real life situations? And you know what I mean? Like weight of touch, where's the ball going? When do you do that during a game? The second thing that a lot of people will look at is the physical side. So, you know, technical, tactical, physical, psychological. So the physical side, how tall is a player? How strong is a player? How fast is a player? What's their stamina like? So when people are watching players on TV, if someone's fast, people think, oh, he's a good player. If someone's fast and can cross the ball down the line and cross the ball quite well, people think, oh, he's a top player, he is. But he might be rubbish at the other two corners of the four corner model. The other two, which I think a lot of more focus needs to go on, is the tactical side, which Spanish players are amazing at. And this is why I like Van der Beek. You know, I'm always talking about Van der Beek at Man U, right? Tactical players understand space, they understand positioning, they understand moments in the game where to counter-attack or when to sit back. The tactical side is very difficult. Italians are very good with the tactics, right? The tactical side is very difficult. And to really get better at that, I think that kids need to watch videos and coaches need to talk about these things with the players. And the tactical side is very difficult. But, you know, you look at players like N'Golo Kante at Chelsea, trying to give like valid examples. He's always in the right place at the right time. He always intercepts it. And that's because tactically, he understands the space. Where are they going to go and attack? Where are we looking weak right now? Where can I position myself to prevent something from happening? And then the final side is the mental side. I always joke around with your little brother Alfie that his mental corner is the weakest, so weak compared to a lot of other players his age. How do you react when you make a mistake? How do you react when you get left out of the team? How do you react when you're the top goal scorer and then all of a sudden you stop scoring goals? A lot of players have a weak mentality and it's very difficult to train that mentality. I had a girl and her name was Tessa, who's in one of my girls' teams that I had for a long time. And she became one of my best players in the team. And I had a really great bond with Tessa. I got along with her so well. I really looked out for her. And I think she really enjoyed me being a coach. But the thing is with Tessa is every time that she made a mistake, every time that I might have said something to advise her or help her, she wouldn't take it. She would take it the wrong way and get upset. And she was a very sensitive girl. With time, I managed to build up her self-belief and her confidence and her mental side in that four-corner model. And now she's getting a lot better at that stuff. So the point I'm making is, in America, they allow professional coaches to focus on things that a lot of people don't realize, and it allows for better results and better players in the long term. And I'd like to see that other coaches and other players and other parents can appreciate the four corners a lot more. And maybe by you listening to what I'm saying or someone else listening to what I'm saying, it makes sense why people rate players that I don't rate or rate players that a coach don't.
Yeah. See, to me, type thing, technically, you can work on it, but for like example, well, Messi, for example, his technical ability is just, he was born with it. Like, he was just amazingly good. Where Ronaldo, technically, he's worked and like they're both the best players in the world, so to speak. In terms of physically as well, is sort of the same way. You can, I think, kids in academies in England, they could be the best technically, but if they're not built for it, 9 times out of 10, they'll release them, say they're not small. Come back in next year and let's see how you are. Like, do you know what I mean? I just think you can work on it as much as you can, but some kids don't develop till they're 18 physically.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty about the four corner model is all players are strong and weak at different times in each of those four corners. And it's up to an academy to try and help them work on those things. It's not fair for them to say physically you're not good enough right now because you can't control how physical you are. Maybe your speed, but your height and your strength, those things come later. But how can that academy then focus on the other three things? Their mental, their tactical and their technical. How can they make them amazing? So when their physical catches up, what kind of player have you got in your hands?
Yeah. And I think as well, it's up to the coach to this. So for mentally, you could have, because everyone's different mentally, you need a player that, some players need an arm around them. Some players need to kick up the arse, so to speak, to get them in the mood. Like, with everyone being different, it's up to the coach to figure out who's who and what's going to be the best to get the best individual playing the best football.
So you're already starting to think about, more about a player than just what you see on the pitch. And it's not fair sometimes for a player that's struggling so much. You have to treat everyone differently because mentally they're all different and you got to understand those things. And I think that all the roles that I've had, whether it's been, teaching assistant, one-to-one care, working at Power League, working in Africa, working in America, I've grown to appreciate things a lot more about in finer detail. You know, like if I'm explaining to someone how to paint a wall, I might say it in a way, and a lot of people would say, right, just paint like this, it's so easy, but they don't actually understand kind of what you're asking them to do. So being able to speak to people in different ways and understand like the mental side of things, it makes you a better person and a better coach.
Yeah, it's definitely it. And it's all these different experiences that in the long term, however far you want to take it, will soon amass, and you'll be the best coach you want to be in that sense. With America being your visa, you can only work 9 months at a time. What was you doing with the 3 months back in the UK?
So that's kind of a tough thing of picking a job where it's not something I necessarily enjoy, but it's something that can keep me ticking over while I'm back, because all my friends are at work all the time. So it's not like a holiday. So eventually 3 months, 3.5 months, I'm back. I actually have to do something. So the first couple of times I came back, I was labouring. So people that don't know what labouring is, it's basically doing all the rubbish jobs, working with a builder. So it could be sweeping up, making cups of tea, it could be moving bricks. Basically, like you said earlier, a job that a monkey can do, really. I got to have a little bit of fun with certain things. So like it would annoy me when I have to make cups of tea all the time. Like I'm thinking, how many cups of tea can someone drink in a day? Like, you know what I mean? Like 7, 8 cups of tea, you're taking the piss. So
Just the excuse
sometimes,
for them to have a break. That's why I wanted.
yeah, probably. Yeah, they probably can't. Yeah, but it's just annoying that I always had to make stoop the kettle on, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake. So sometimes to get my payback, it's funny because they don't really sanitize or look after the spoons, the forks, whatever around the kettle and around the tea bags and around the mugs. So I would sometimes like fucking making me make you a cup of tea. Who do you think you are? So I'll make the cup of tea, and then I would stir it with like a dirty screwdriver or a dirty spoon that's got all like, I don't know, concrete or anything on it. It could be anything in there. And I would like mix it, and then I'd go give it a, how's that taste? And they're like, oh, lovely, best one you've made all day. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder why that is. So that was kind of some fun that I had on that job.
Just for the record, is that when you was working for my dad? You was giving him the dirty ones.
I think Upper got done a few times with the dirty screwdriver, yeah.
Yeah, but he'd always say that when I was at home as well. He said, "Oh God, you're brilliant at making them." Just so, go on, you make another one. You're brilliant at it.
There was a few though. He would go, what is that shite you've made?
Shite, we love that one, don't he? Shite that.
But I worked with one guy who lived opposite me. This guy called Pete, this little guy, old guy, and he drove a van. Obviously, at this point, I wasn't driving. I didn't have a car. So Pete would take me to work, and he basically said to me, "Be ready just before 5 to 7, and we'll go to the job." So I'd get all my stuff. Bless her. My mum would make like a little packed lunch up. I'd leave the house, walk across the road to Pete, who's already in his van. One day, I think I must have woke up late or whatever. Like that was really early for me, waking up at like 6:30, 6:45, and it was like 6:55. So I always had to get there a little bit before. Anyway, 6:55, and as I'm opening the door, I can see a white van driving past. And I'm thinking, that's Pete. That's Pete driving off without me. And then he sees me in the corner of his eye, brakes, and then I quickly shut the door and go running after the van, get in the van. And he's like, I was leaving you. I was thinking, what are you doing, leaving me? And he's like, I said 6:55, you young kids, you get a bit older, isn't he? You young kids can't even keep up with time. I was on time every single day and late once, and he's driving off without me.
And I can imagine that actually was really hard for you to wake up so early, because what time do you wake up? What, 12:30, 12?
What you mean now?
No, yeah. I mean,
Well,
I don't know that you go to bed probably at 3, 4 in the morning, but
my sleeping pattern changes so much. Sometimes I go to bed at 1, wake up at 10ish, and then some days I'll go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like it changes all the time. So in a way, it's good me working because it actually keeps me into a relatively good sleeping pattern.
I've always thought with you do wake up late. You've always woke up late, but if you had to wake up early, you could always do it, like without moaning, just like click of your finger, you'd be up, have a shower, whatever, wake yourself up, brush your teeth, and then you could do it. So other than labouring, what other things have you done in your time where you've been off?
Well, there's two other ones. One of them I did a year or two ago. It was teaching assistant work. So I was a teaching assistant basically in different schools every day. It was quite actually a mad thing. They would ring me at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it would be, like we just talking about sleeping pattern. It would be my alarm, their phone call, and I would answer it, and they would say, "Look, can you go to this school by 9 o'clock?" And it's like 8:10. I'm like, oof, yeah, all right. So then I would turn up at this school and I'd be a random face. They didn't know who the hell I am. Provide some ID. And then I would get told, go to classroom 6A or whatever. So I'll go to 6A. And most of the time I was working with children with learning difficulties or behavior problems. And like some of that was rough. Some days were really easy, like watching films and stuff near the end of the school year. But some days were rough. Like I've had kids like dribbling on me. Funny one was, one time there was a kid, and he was very touchy feely, which I don't mind, and the teacher was obviously used to it, and he was like playing with my hair and stuff, and I'm like looking at the teacher like, is this all right? What's he doing to me? And I'm quite understanding, like I said. So he's like playing with my hair, dead like interested in my hair, and then he sat on my knee, and at this point I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what I should do. Like, should I allow him on my knee? And the teacher's like, oh, is this okay? He really enjoys sitting on people's knees. I'm like, God, yeah, this is all right.
It's more you're thinking if like the boss or whatever comes over,
it's a weird thing, isn't it? Like, any kid sitting on your knee,
God,
unless
why
it's
has
your
James
own
got
son.
a kid sat on his knee?
Yeah, unless it's your own son or daughter, I would never really ever do that. But I understood that it was probably a comfort thing for him, right?
Yeah.
He was like sat on my knee, and then I feel something wet, and pissed himself on me. I had grey jeans on, and all this wet patch on my right leg. Oh my God! And the teacher was like, "Not again!" I was like, "Oh, you failed to mention that to me before when you said it was all right." Oh my God!
Sure, he loves sitting on people's knees, James.
Yeah, and that's probably why they couldn't have anyone covering. Every single day they got a new person, and she probably gets something out of it. Enjoys watching the same thing. Oh no, he's not done it again. Oh.
So how did that job come about then? Was it through applying or?
Yeah, so that one was actually one of the few jobs I've ever had from applying. So I applied to an agency, and agency work is very hit and miss. So it was perfect for me because I'm not rich, but when I come back from America, I'm good with my money. I save up, and if they didn't call me in a day, it was fine for me. Like I've had other things to go and do. Go Frankie Bennett's on my own. Loads of things that I could do on my own, and it meant a lie-in, loads of things. But if they did call me, it was like earning money, going to work. So either way, I'd enjoy it. I remember another time as well where with the naughty kids and the kids with disabilities, the bar is very low on kind of achievement. So that sounds like a bad thing to say, but it's not bad. It's just a realistic goal. So like working with a child with disability when they've got PE lesson, I might help them climb over some apparatus or hold on to a beam for 5 seconds without falling off. And the smile and enjoyment on the face is like amazing. And they're probably going to go home and tell their mom and dad about it. And that fills me with like sense of accomplishment and enjoyment. So when they actually do accomplish these things, it's like it's such a high kind of relief and happiness for them, which is a nice thing about that job. But it made me a lot more aware about like people with disabilities and behavior problems in general. Like I understand it a lot more. But that was quite a challenging job. But then now coming back and finally managed to get my delivery job back, delivering Chinese, which is up there with the best job I've ever had.
What I remember as well, actually, when we used to go, Pete would get he'd go in, pick up the deliveries that he had, and he'd get a map out.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't use a sat nav, he'd actually get his like road map out, and like probably I don't know if he was going which place is the quickest way to go first or what, but I just thought that was.
Things have changed a lot now, because I remember we used to go to Halford and actually buy a sat nav, and you'd put it in, and the sat nav sometimes it wouldn't find the house, and you're like, what the hell do I do now? And you'd end up being quite a while, and you'd like input one at a time. and it wasn't like an exact thing. You know, if you typed in an address, it
Yeah.
would just take you to that road. But now it's like the sat navs are so good that it's very difficult to even make a mistake. Like the pin is exactly on the house now. Things have changed a lot now. Like obviously there's a new owner, and the way I am with the staff is a lot more friendly and a lot more relaxed around them. Like I would even class some of them as my friends now. I see them as like friends. Like so friendly with them. I have like banter with them. One of them supports Arsenal, one of them supports Man United. But what's funny about it is that they love gambling, and the older guy, he always goes to the bookies to put on his bets because he doesn't trust himself on a gambling app. And
I
the
know that
boss,
feeling.
which I hope the boss isn't listening, but his wife, he doesn't want his wife to find out that he gambles because he spends quite a bit of money as well. Both of them do. So I gamble on my account on behalf of them, and then I obviously give them the money when they win, or take the money obviously when they lose. It's just funny that they live like this other life where they gamble through me.
So in a way, James, you've done for full circle, haven't you? Your first job being 15, gambling at school, taking percentage. Are you taking percentage off the Chinese lads?
They give me a little bit, yeah, but it's in my blood, I think, gambling.
That's it. Well, you're not the gambling. You're basically a bookie.
Yeah, I
You're a mini
am. I'm the
bookie.
middleman. With my Chinese job as well, like this probably end up being the deepest thing that I say on here, and it's like customer service to me is in all like shapes and sizes. And when I do my Chinese delivery job, I try and think about, like with the children with disabilities, I try and put myself in their shoes. How can I help them the best way? If he wants to sit on my knee and play with my hair, that's because he wants to be comfortable. With my delivery job, yes, it's just delivering Chinese food, but how I always think to myself, how can I be the best employee or best James possible? And I think when you order any delivery food, even if it's from Amazon or whatever, if you knock on the door and you've got someone that is just trying to make so much conversation with you, or just makes things awkward at the door, that already you're thinking, oh, you're almost dreading ordering the food and then coming to the door. You want it to be fast, efficient, quick, and friendly. So when I go to the door to people, I try my best to do that. I've got the money ready, I'm friendly, I'm fast, because people don't want to be stood at the door chatting to the delivery driver that they don't know about small talk. They just want their food. I understand that. So I make their week. You know, some people, like you said, working all day, Monday to Friday, they finally get their Chinese takeaway on a Friday or a Saturday night. They just want their food. They don't want to chat to me. So I try and give them the best like attention to detail in what I do. And I think that sounds deep because it's a Chinese delivery job, but that's why I think I'm going to be successful when I'm older, because anything that I do, whether it's coaching, whether it's delivering Chinese food, whether it's working one-to-one with kids with disabilities, I try and be the best I can be.
The podcast,
my charity, everything. I try and be the best that I can be. And I think that if I keep on having that mindset and I keep on improving the roles that I have, who knows how far I can go. And hopefully I can look back when I'm 40 or 50 and whatever I'm doing, hopefully I'm being successful in whatever I'm doing. I can look back and think that mindset is the reason why I got where I am. There's one funny story I wanted to finish on, right? Recently, it was like literally 2 weeks ago. And it's funny because when we were planning this podcast, I was like thinking, I wonder what stories I could tell. And the night I was thinking of the stories initially, when I first made the note on my phone, it's just such a bizarre, weird thing. It's only ever happened to me once. And I don't even know how it happened to me. I go to this house and I get out of the car and open the boot to get someone's food out of the box. And the guy's already stood at the door. I always make a joke like, oh, you must be hungry or whatever. Just like little jokes like that. I get the food out of the box, get it in my hand, it's like a carrier bag. And then I look at the customer. As I'm walking towards him, I don't even know how I did it. I still don't even know. I just dropped the food. The bag just fell out of my hand. I just completely dropped it. Boom, smashed the floor, all the food. Bent all the containers and it all spilt inside the bag. I'm like, gee, what am I going to do? He's looking at me. He's right there. So I pick the bag up thinking he's going to say something. And he's just looking at me. And he's not looking angry. He's not looking sad. He's looking at me the same way he was looking at me when I turned up. I give him the food. At this point, I'm thinking, is this guy, is he blind? Is he actually genuinely blind or something? Like, I don't even know. And I give him the food. He's like, you're right, mate. And I'm like, yeah, are you? expecting him to say, "You've just dropped my bloody food." Doesn't say anything. Gives me the money. I walk off. He never calls the Chinese to complain. Doesn't say anything to me. And that's how confusing is that? I literally just dropped his
Is he
food in front of him, and he didn't say anything. I acted like nothing happened.
delivering Chinese for how long you have? There's regular people who deliver like every Friday or the end of payday, or is he a regular?
No, he isn't a regular. No, so it's probably why he
maybe
hasn't
just
ordered
might-
again.
Yeah. I thought we'll end it just with a couple of questions, not necessarily about work,
Go on then, hit
but
me.
being the host of the show, your listeners want to know who you are, I'd have thought. So if you was on Mastermind, what would your specialist subject be?
Oh, God, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was something football related.
It would definitely be football related. I would want to say, oh, that is a tough one. It might even be FIFA related. Maybe I would, maybe, you know, what a good one is, and we've done this game before. It would be a music round, and I would guess what year song was from FIFA. So they play a song that was on FIFA game from 2005, and I'd have to guess what year of FIFA that song was on. That would be my speciality round.
Whoa. Yeah, I was not expecting that one. Oh, obviously, we've grew up together from what, the age of 4, 5? Do you think
Unfortunately.
our best days together are behind us?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Because everyone says like school's the best time of your life, etc.
Yeah, I would say,
We had a lot of fun at school,
yeah,
to put it bluntly.
I would say that the height of people's relationships with people are all at different stages. So I would say potentially yes, but that could change, not in the near future, but in the distant future. So maybe in 20 years' time, who knows what will change. But I think that the height of our relationship and best times is probably past now because of the amount of time that we shared together and the things that we did together. Whereas now, obviously, if COVID and that's worse, but I see you a lot less. We do things a lot less because
Yeah.
your best years are now with Laura and your daughter and your soon to be son or daughter. So I think that our years, our best years have gone by, but they could come again in the far future. But that's a good question.
Cheers.
You didn't think of that, surely. Where have you found that one online?
I asked a Twitter poll and they said that was the best question to ask. Right, James, I think we've covered all areas there, haven't we?
Yeah, I think you've done a good job, host. Maybe not as good as I did. So maybe on season 2, I don't know if you'll feature or not, but it's been fun. It's been fun being on the other side.
Yeah, it'd be nice to come on and tell some tales of my own and have a few laughs, I guess. Yeah, as much as it is host, I felt like it is your show. Do you want to lead us out?
Well, he didn't really mention who he
Not
was.
with,
The
not with,
mystery
not with a
man,
song.
the mystery
Not with a
man, the
song.
whole episode, which is
That's what I like. I like to keep them guessing. Keep the listeners guessing. But yeah. Anyway, I've been Jack. You've been James. I'll see you in season 2.
Thank you very much.
See you, mate.